Hi there, welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today I'll be walking you through your 2025 Forest River Wildwood 36Vbds. I'm going to start off at the back of the unit here. If you notice up top, you're pre-mounted for an observation camera as well as a liquid collapsible stair system. If you'd like to get set up with either of those, it's as simple as contacting your parts department. They'd be more than happy to help you out. You also got your spare tire located at the back here. And then if you come around to the driver's side, you do get access through both sides though. Just pulling on that bumper cap, that's typically where you're going to want to store your sewer hose after your first use. We do have a brand new one located inside the front compartment, which is why there's not one in there yet. It just presses into place just like so. Coming a little bit further ahead, you do get your standard 50 amp plug end. You just take a note of that silver strip there. It lines up with this silver strip on this side. Pushing that firmly into place, 8th turn to lock it in, and then you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. Now if you follow that cord back, you do come to your standard 50 amp plug-in. Now a lot of campsites, especially here in Manitoba, may not have 50 amp service, so that's why we do include this 30 amp dog bone adapter. Just keep in mind though, when you are going down to 30 amps of power, you're not going to be able to run both air conditioners at once. You will only have to be able to run one air conditioner at once. But if you are on that 50 amp service, you are good to go for both air conditioners. Located right down below that, you do get your sewer exit, taking that cap, twisting it off. It's going to be where your sewer hose is going to have your same ears. You're going to line them up, lock them into place just like so. Then you got your black valve and your gray valve. You always want to empty your black valve first, your dirtiest water filled from your toilets. Then you can come behind that with your gray valve, which is typically a little cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. Then you do got your two low point drains here. So let's say you're leaving the unit for a while and don't want water going stale or stagnant. Cracking them open is going to drain most of the fluid out of the lines. And then of course during winterization at the end of the process, it is always a good idea to crack those open and allow most of the antifreeze out of the lines. Up top, you get your main kind of water area. You get your city water connection, so if you're at a site with service, you can just thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to pressurize all those lines. And then you got your black tank flush. So the way that works is, reading the caution sticker, you do have to have your sewer hose connected and the black tank valve open. The reason being, if you're pushing pressure inside of the tank, that pressure's got nowhere to go but to expand inside the tank and possibly crack it. So again, that's why it's very important that you do have that open and the sewer hose connected. But it's just going to help with false monitor panel readings. It's a good thing to do every couple of uses just to keep things that much cleaner inside that tank. We're going to come ahead all the way to the front of the unit now. Up at the front, you got your battery disconnect switch right here on the front of the frame. With it in the on position like it is now, the batteries are connected to the unit. If you were to turn that to the off position, the batteries would now become disconnected from the unit. Batteries located inside this box here. You got your two standard style propane tanks underneath this cover. Most of the time you can get what you need done just by removing this cover. But just for the purpose of the video and in case you ever have to take it off, well, which you will have to take off to refill them, just tank cover slides right off. Then you got your selector valve right at the front with it pointed this way. You're obviously going to be drawing off this tank, and like any standard barbecue, just counterclockwise, opening it up all the way to open up the flow of propane. Now if this tank were to go empty, you just have to close it off, flip this over to the other side, and then you can start drawing off that tank. The power tongue jack right up there at the front. Right here you got your outside storage area. It does open up into that front bunk room as well. Standard starter kit, that's where you have your 10-foot sewer hose, 15-foot water hose, and some other miscellaneous goodies, including a 15 amp park adapter to go down from 30. But just keep it in mind with a unit of this size especially, 15 amps isn't really enough. You're not going to be able to run any air conditioners. It realistically is just going to be to run your fridge and your lights. If you move that over to the side, on the left-hand side of the wall, turning that switch on, turns on some nice illumination lights along the side of the trailer. It's going to be a great way to spruce up your site a little bit, light it up that little bit. People love LED lights nowadays, so I think that's a cool little feature. Right here, you're going to have your first of two stabilizer jacks controls. This is just going to be for the front stabilizer jacks. The rear one's going to have another switch down there. You can probably see it already. I'm just going to go over the front set because the rear one's going to work the same way. Now, before you do run these down, it's always good not always good. It's mandatory to first level the unit. Once the unit is level, then you can set your stabilizer jacks down. A lot of people think that you can use your stabilizer jacks to try and help level, which you can, but then you do run the risk of bending them. So again, once you have your unit level, just push that extend button. Those feet are going to start making their way down to the ground. Once the feet contact the ground, you're going to hear the motor wind up, and you can let off the button at that point. This is an open gear system, so sometimes those legs may make their way down at different paces. If they start doing that, don't panic, just let them do their thing. So you heard the motor wind up, so now you're going to be fully stable. To retract it, it's just the complete opposite. Push, hold that button. Once those feet contact the bottom of the trailer, motor's going to wind up again. You need to let off the button. And that's that. Now you got your patio door entrance today. That's not going to be the one we're entering through. We are entering through your back bedroom entrance. First though, we'll go over this water heater. So this is an on-demand water heater. There's no tank attached to it. It's just a bunch of copper coils wrapped in a circle, big flame in the middle that heats water as it flows through it. There's not going to be any bypass valves behind here, so if you're doing the winterization yourself, you are just running antifreeze through that system completely. And once you're done winterizing all your taps and everything, you're done your process completely. When you crack those low point drains, come and crack this pressure relief valve. So that way, during those extremely cold winter months, when the antifreeze does start gelling up a little bit, it has that room to escape and doesn't expand and crack the coil. Power switch here turns power to the thermostat inside, so when you're winterizing, making sure that you do turn that off. Fresh water fill, so if you're out boondocking or it's just an off season and you don't have on-demand water, you could put a garden hose in there or siphon water in, whichever, with a funnel, and fill up that fresh tank. The drain for that is just going to be right down to the floor here. Pull that valve, all the fresh water will drain out. You got your furnace exhaust. Whenever your furnace is running, that'll be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that. You do have a little pre-mount for a TV in case you did want to mount one outside here. You got the plug down below, plug it in, and then of course the cable satellite outlet if you have that hooked up. And at the back, you got your stabilizer jack button I told you about earlier. And then you get your stairs to get inside. Both stairs are the same. You pull that first one towards you. The last one flips down. Allow you to open up your door. Just keep it in mind with this bedroom door, if you do have it open all the way, it's going to run into contact with that awning. So before you ever run your awning from the inside, just make sure that this door is open 90 degrees or just enough for that awning to be allowed to travel in and out freely. If you had it here and you tried to run it and you didn't notice it right away, there is a chance that you risk damaging it, so just be careful. Before we do get on inside, off on the left, right in the doorway, is going to be your main fuse and breaker panel. Whenever a breaker trips, it'll sit in the middle, so you just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. All the corresponding fuses are on the right hand side. There should be a little red indicator light letting you know in case one blows. On the wall, you get your versatile bed control. One way is up, the other way is down. And then you get your slide out control, push and hold that out button. But of course, before you do that, it's always a good idea. Sometimes things do tend to shift during travel, so it's always a good idea just to do a quick visual inspection, making sure that there's nothing that's going to be getting in the way of that slide out, and of course on the outside that you have adequate room to put it out. Once you do check that, you can push that button. The slide out's going to start making its way out, and once it hits its full extension, you can hear the motors wind up and click. Light switch on the right hand side there to turn those lights on. Now you're going to notice this thermostat here. This is for the rear air conditioner and the rear air conditioner only. I'm going to go over this thermostat, but I'm going to go over the front one because that's going to be your main one that also controls your furnace. This one's going to work the same way as that one, so we'll go over that once we get there. Inside here, you got your standard bedroom area, tons of storage space. Now, of course, when using any of the storage throughout this unit, because there's tons of it, just be mindful of drains, water lines, and wiring. You're not going to be wanting to affect any of that with your things. Right here would be the best spot for a TV because you do have that coax right there and the two plugins. And right back here, this wall does have a backer so that you can screw a TV mount to it. Just keeping in mind the size of screws you use, because you don't want to go right through the fiberglass. That could be an expensive mistake and an ugly one. Inside the closet space, light just on its own center push button. You can turn it on and off as you need it. And then, of course, the bed, if you do pick up at the foot of it, you do get a big storage space under here to put whatever other supplies you need to put in. USB plug-ins on both sides of the bed. All the blinds in the unit do work the same way. They just kind of sit where you leave them, one quick pull to allow them to retract back up. Opening up this door handle, this will allow us to get into the bathroom here. Turning on the light switch, turns on all the lights inside of here. Pretty much your standard bathroom, shower, of course, more storage again. And then on the wall here, you get your main GFI plug. 90% of the plugs are ran through GFI in this unit, so if you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I would check. Just make sure that this isn't tripped. Sometimes they can trip for the oddest reasons. Again, you have an outlet that doesn't work, just give this a quick reset and go try it again. Then on the right next to it, you do have your thermostat for your water heater. So like I was telling you earlier, this is an on-demand water heater, so there's no actual tank involved, so it does operate a little bit differently. Pushing the power button on and off to turn it on and off. You can change between Celsius and Fahrenheit with the press of a button. Up and down at any time to change your set temperature. Just as an added safety feature so kids can't scald their hands, it is locked to 50 degrees Celsius right off the bat. Hopefully your kids aren't watching this, because if you hold the up button for about 5 seconds, it does allow you to unlock that thermostat and go up another 5 degrees, but just keep it in mind, at 55 degrees Celsius, it's extremely hot water. You're probably going to scald your hands if you leave them under there for too long. So just be careful whenever you're using it. And so now getting to the point of it being an on-demand system, how you want to set that temperature is where you're going to find set the temperature to where you find the hot water the most comfortable without blending in the cold at all. The reason being because the heater works off a flow. Once you crack in the cold to try and blend it, to bring it down, it does affect the flow and it's going to bring in cold spots. You want to just be able to run the hot and have it comfortable at that temperature. You might have to play with it for a little bit, but once it's set, you know the number. Now, we can take a step on into the main living space. You're going to kind of have to crawl over top of everything to get to your slide out button. Unless, of course, you left the patio door open, which I didn't do that today. This big center button here turns on all the main living space lights, and it is on a dimmer, so you can dim it as you need to. And then you get your slide out control, push and hold that button out. Slide out's going to start making its way out. Once it does reach its full extension, you're going to hear the motors wind up and click. Again, just like the back one. Now, unfortunately today, I already know on the outside, I don't have enough room to go all the way out with the slide out because I don't want to run it into the next door neighbor's workbench. So that's all I'm going to go out today, just because, again, I don't want to run into that workbench, damaging your fresh, beautiful unit. We're just going to open up this patio door a little bit here, just so I can show you the awning control. Push that button, hold it out. Your awning's going to start making its way out. Now, whenever you're putting your awning out, it's always going to be very important that you keep in mind the wind speed. Once the winds start picking up, you are going to want to make sure that you bring this awning in. Otherwise, you do run the risk of damaging it, whether that be bending your arms or ripping your fabric. You're going to know that awning's at its full extension when you see the back of the metal tube and the little flap hang down. You're going to see I just got it to the point where that flap is starting to come hang down, and if you went a little bit further, which we can't because, again, due to space, it would show you the back of the metal tube. Now, if it were to start raining, you take any arm, front or rear, pull down at the center. It's going to change the pitch of the awning head on the water to now run off. Now, if you like that angle better, because it's going to allow for more shade underneath, you do the same thing with the rear arm. Just make sure that you do push these back straight before you bring the awning back in. That way it goes in nice and even and doesn't bend anything. And to bring the awning in, it's as simple as pushing and holding the in button. The awning is going to start rolling its way in. Once the arms contact the side of the trailer, the motor will automatically cut out. Now, let's say you were in a rainstorm, the winds start picking up, you're worried about your awning, you're bringing it in while it's wet. That's totally fine. Just remember at your next earliest convenience to try and roll it back out, just so you don't accelerate the growth of mold or mildew inside of there. Now, up top of that, you got your water pump switch in case you're wanting to draw to your fresh tank. Then you got awning LED light, which is a nice bright light right underneath the awning. Then you do have some accent lighting in the slide out. Right next to it, you got your JBL sound system. Push the button on, you push the Bluetooth button. It's going to work like any JBL speaker. It'll pop up in your phone as JBL. You connect to it. You control which speakers you're playing it off of based by pushing the speaker button. Push it once, it's going to go to A. Push it twice, you go to B, which is your outside, and push it 3 times to get both running at the same time. All that good jazz, but just keep it in mind that everything does have to run through your phone. There's no FM or transmitter inside of this or anything. So you do have to have some music either pre-downloaded or service to play your radio. Start off kind of close to where we left off. On the wall here, you got that main thermostat I was telling you about. You push the button once, it illuminates itself. You push it again, you get into your different modes. Go over to cool, push enter. Now you get to choose your fan speed. So whether that be high or low in the auto setting, that's going to be the second setting I recommend using, just because it turns the system into an on-demand system, so it'll kick in and out as needed. So if the room's currently 72 and we have it set to 57, once it does reach 57, it'll automatically kill the air conditioner. If you had that fan setting in either high or low, which you just have to double tap the button to change the fan speed, that fan is going to run continuously until you actually manually turn it off, even when you go to fire up your furnace, which does run off propane, by the way. Again, leaving it on that auto setting, push the button again, you get to switch it over to heat. It's going to kill your air conditioner, fire up your furnace. Whenever you go to fire up your furnace, it's always a good idea to purge the system. I'll lower purging right away when we get to our stove. Push it again. Now Coleman's got this cool feature on their thermostats where you got a cool plus heat option. So based off of what the room is set to, will depend on whether it kicks in the furnace or the air conditioner, but it's very important that you have that auto setting on, otherwise it's not going to be able to function properly. One more time, we'll bring you over to cool. That's just going to be a dehumidifying mode to try and take as much moisture out of the air using the air conditioner, and then you can cycle everything back to off. Opening up this door, tons of more storage space. And then you got your residential style fridge and freezer, which is going to be pretty much just like home. There's not much I need to show you there. You got off, and then the 5 is going to be the coldest setting. Underneath this black lid, lift it, pops open. That's where your microwave hides, as well as your range hood. Now I always recommend running your range hood whenever you're using your stove. That way you're evacuating those propane fumes as you're making them. Top, you can get a little extra spice rack space in case you needed it. Right next to the stove, pretty cool. Push that, pull it up. It does give you a couple more extra plugs. Hit it down, bring that down. So now coming to our stove, because I brought up purging, the reason I'm telling you to use your stove is because you decide how many sequences it tries to light for and how long you leave the gas on for, because once you turn the system off at the front of the trailer or disconnect one of the bottles, it does allow air into the system. Once air makes its way out, it has to be purged out. Again, quickest, easiest way is just by using your stove. But with all that being said, it is, you got to be safe whenever you're doing so. It is gas. If it starts to accumulate and you had an ignition source, it could cause a minor combustion. And if your face was close by, you're probably going to lose some eyebrows and eyelashes. So just be safe. As long as you turn the gas valve on, and as long as you're hitting that sparker every few seconds, there'll be no buildup. As soon as propane starts coming out, it'll light right away, just like so. And of course, it lit pretty quick today just because I had the system running earlier. Sometimes it can take a few minutes, so just be patient with it and make sure you're operating that sparker every few seconds. That way you don't get that buildup of gas and a minor combustion. Try and hold your face back whenever you are lighting it too is always a good idea. Down below, you get your oven, which is pretty much the same idea. Push that knob over to the high/light, push and hold the knob in, just like the burners. Down there by your gas valve, down there, you get that pilot to light. Once that pilot can light and stay lit without you holding down on the button, you can turn it up to your desired temperature, and it does fire right on up. Apply it right to that. You get some illumination knobs as well as a little bit of oven light action. Other than that, inside your kitchen, it's a pretty basic storage sink. Inside the sink, underneath it, if you pull on this, they give you a little garbage disposal, which I thought was pretty neat. Over here, Inside the slide out area, I guess, you have what's called a Versa Lounge. So right now we have it currently set up as a sectional, which is probably the best option. If you wanted, you could remove these cushions from against the wall, take this, remove it out of its snake pockets on the back side, and you could switch this cushion to sit in the snake pockets on this side, which would allow you a little bench space to sit on this side of the table. The table, by the way, if you pull on it, it extends out so you have a little bit more extra space. But make sure if you ever go to run your slide out in that you do close it back up, otherwise it's going to run into contact with your countertop. You're going to notice these benches under here. Always double checking before travel. You do have them safety latched. It's there for a reason. Things tend to move during travel. You don't want those moving, causing any damage. You got storage underneath the couch all the way around. And now because your unit is equipped with propane, you got your LP detector right here near the ground. If this guy ever starts going off, don't panic. Just turn off your main supply propane at the front of the unit and open up some windows and vents to get some fresh oxygen inside of here. Coming to our entertainment center, you got your TV mounted on the wall. Again, noticing the travel strap to stop it from flying around during travel. Down below, you get your fireplace, power button on the far right. The button to the left of that does your different flame colors. The button right in the middle does your different rock light colors. And then 2 in from the left, you push the button twice to go into low, push it again, you get to high heat. And then you got a timer that goes anywhere from 30 minutes to 9 hours. Power button to turn that off. Behind here, again, like I said, tons of storage. Slide the first latch, get the second latch at the top. That'll allow this to open up. And again, another crazy big pantry space. Inside of here though, you're gonna notice you got your main coax outlet. There's this little black button here, turns that green light on. That does turn the antenna on the roof. Now that also improves radio frequency and cell phone frequency. So I typically recommend leaving it on during camping, but whenever you're not using the unit, try and remember to turn it off because it does draw battery power. Up top here, you got this motion sensing light. So if you click the button to the left, you're in motion sensing mode, so it'll only kick in whenever there's motion. And if you click it to the right, that means it's on full time, and right in the middle is off. That goes for all the motion sensing lights in the unit. There is a couple more. Again, making sure you latch this up before you start moving anywhere so it doesn't go flying around. Into your bunk space, light switch on your far left. There's going to be a TV backer on this wall here in case you wanted to mount a TV for the kids or your grown-ups, whichever is staying inside here. You got 2 plug-ins, coax up top. And then you got your bunk bed area, bunks up top, couch down below. You're going to notice first bunk down, last bunk up, last bunk down, first bunk up. So first bunk up, and then you do this bunk up. At that point, it kind of opens up the space a little bit. This is kind of like a chalkboard surface, so you can draw on it. Now, if you wanted, you could flip this down. Don't try and pull on the cushion right off because it is sewn on at the bottom. Flip this down. They do include another mattress here for you to fold down in case you were to have some extra guests that didn't fit in the top 2 or didn't want to stay in the top 2. You got this option as well. Just making sure to try and fold it back up before you run it in. Then you can just fold this back up. And then just reading the sign again. First bunk down, second bunk down, and everything's set back up. They do include these nice little storage totes here, and then you do have the fire exit here for the unit. Pulling on that red tab screen is going to pop right out of place. At that point, you can take this handle, push it out, hop on out of the unit. Of course, trying to go feet first, but if there is a fire, just get out as quickly as possible. Now, that is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.